So, in this class, we have been talking about organizational communication, and one of in this chapter, we're talking about the principles of the peon. Now, the peon is a person at the lowest level of an organization. They require the least amount of skill and have minimum amount of responsibility. So this is person at the lowest level, person who just got here. We only require you to do labor, basically just like the person that has no responsibility at all except just to do the job, right? So here in this chapter, they're talking about the principles for the peon. The principles for the peon is basically what this peon, this person at the lowest level, has to do to try to get out of that peon status, or actually just to stay within the company, right? These are guidelines for the peon to follow so that they can get themselves out of the peon status or just keep their job, right? So the first principle that they're talking about is the principle of survival. This is basically saying that the person who is the peon should, if they do something wrong, they need to admit it and try to move forward from it. But you shouldn't try to lie or try to put the blame on somebody else. Just accept it, take responsibility for it, and move on after that, right? But I think that goes for all levels, not just for the peon, but it says that's the one principle for the peon. So the second principle is the principle of power. Now, in every organization, they already basically have their own culture. Everything has already been established, right? You don't come in here just saying that, oh, you've done this job before. Everywhere you go, you will have to learn how this new organization does their work, right? Mm-hmm. Everywhere you go, even though you've done that job before, this other role or job requires you to do that same job just a different way. So everywhere you go, you have to try to learn new ways of doing things, or the way that the company is doing it and they're asking you to do it, because it's already been established that way, right? So it's the norm of that company. You need to learn the norm, right? Now, the principle of tenure is so somebody with tenure is somebody who has been with the company for a long time. They're still a peon, just like you, but they have a little bit more influence with like the supervisors, and so they've been here for a long time. Their work is trusted. They have a little more experience than you, right? So if this person with tenure was to suggest something to a supervisor, the supervisor would probably take it into account more than he would take you into account, because maybe you're newer or younger or haven't had that much experience with this company. So the principle here for the peon is that if you are the new guy trying to challenge the old guy or the guy who's been there longer, or you shouldn't try to challenge him. You should just try to, stay out of their way. If they tell you to do something, you should follow, right? So that's what they're saying in this principle, right? So this is the principle of decision making. Says that you as the peon should never rush to make any decisions, even though they say that this has to be, you have to decide now, immediately. Well, as a peon, nothing should ever come to you that immediately. This should be, you always have time to say, well, let me get back to you, let me get somebody else's opinion about this so that I can make an informed decision, right? And the principle of modesty is that so this person, the peon, should not try to be better than like the person that's been there for a while. I guess in this situation they're talking about the supervisor. Never try to outdo your supervisor, thinking that you're better than the supervisor, and well, kind of like, you know, stay in your place. Don't try to make somebody else look bad or something. They're saying that in this principle, that what you should try to do as a peon is to get this person promoted, so that maybe they could see you in a better light, you know, and then get out of the peon position, right? Does that make sense? And the principle of importance is when they're saying that you as a peon are not better than anybody else. You say that you've done this job before, but now you're coming into this new organization, and I mean, this is a person who does the minimal amount of work. They have the minimal amount of skill required to do this job, and you have the least amount of responsibility. So if you think you're so much better, you know, they can always bring somebody in to replace you, just because, you know, oh, I'm so much better than this person. Can't do this job without me. Well, yeah, they can do it without you. They can probably do it easier without you, because, you know, you feel like you have so much skill or whatever. This is the principle of self-importance. Don't try to think that you're so important when your job requires the least amount of skill. Just yeah, because you're expendable. You can always be replaced, right? So here is the principle of acceptance, which is the last one. And this principle is saying that you are in this company, you're at the lowest level. You just have to accept that things are the way that they are in this organization. This is how it's been established. This is how you just have to go with it, right? So now that we're done with all the principles, the two that I agree with the most is the principle of power. Now, I mean, everything has, I mean, it's the way it is for a reason, right? You come in and you try to change things. Well, it's probably been done that way also, right? It's probably been done that way also, and they decide that this doesn't work, right? So then they say that this is the norm here. This is the way that things should be done because we've done it that way, and we're deciding that this is actually how it's going to be done here, right? So I agree with that. You just shouldn't come into any organization and try to just change things, right? Are you in agreement?
I agree.
You do?
You?
Yeah, I agree too.
Oh, okay.
Right.
The other one is the principle of self-importance. I mean, I agree with this also because, I mean, it kind of goes along with the other thing, or the other principle I just said. You know, things have been done this way for a long time, or they've decided that this is the way things will be done. You don't just come in here and say that, oh, well, I've done it this way before, and, you know, and I'm so good at it. Well, you know, you are replaceable. You know, you are the lowest level in the organization. You shouldn't come in trying to make yourself seem like you're better than people when your job requires just the minimum amount of work, just like everybody else. I do agree with that, right?
I think so.
Now, what I don't agree with is the principle of tenure, right? The person who's been here longer, even though that they have the same position as you, the same job, the same title, whatever. Just because they've been here longer doesn't mean that you get to tell me what to do or how to do it. Yeah, I understand that you have more experience here, but that does not mean that I need to do what you say. I'm not going to like bow down to you just because you've been here longer. I might know how to do that job better than you do. Do you agree with that or no?
Well, I think if they've been there, so they have all the experience. I mean, like you could listen to them,
Uh-huh.
you know, not be like I don't gotta listen to you, you know, stuff like that. But there'll be some things that you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
then they can kind of help
Well,
you out.
I wouldn't say that I'm not going to listen or I'm going to not listen to you totally. Of course, I'll take it into consideration, but I'm not going to sit there and think that your word is the law. I have to listen to you. I have to stay out of your
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I mean, you don't have to listen to
Yeah.
them, but you know, what I'm saying if you're new and you don't know, and then they know, then you know,
Mhm.
take the help.
But if he or she are they your boss,
Well, this person
then you're
is
supposed to be listening to them.
well, this person is not a supervisor or a boss. They have the same title as you.
Okay.
They've just been here longer.
Okay.
So I'm saying I wouldn't just take their word for anything. I kind of just like
But
want
but you should not reject them right away or
Yeah.
show
Right.
your expression to them like you don't want to listen to them. So that's why you cannot cooperate or you cannot you cannot get along well
hmm
in those team. Because of you make them embarrassed or you make them unhappy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm kind of like an ornery person. Like a person who's kind of, you know, a conflicting person. I guess maybe I just disagree with people sometimes, and I just remain.
Or you can disagree
Disagreeable.
by a different way, or you can take it slowly. When you get to know those people longer or know them more about their behavior, something like that. So you can try to be rejecting step by step. Not like just you just get to know her and then they tell you to do something, you reject it right away. It feel like, whoa, this person just come to compete with me, something like that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. I mean, I wouldn't reject it right away. I would, though, try to find out for myself before I actually accept your word over mine. So, the other principle, the principle of modesty, is the other one that I do not agree with. Is that I kind of have to like show, or that is like to not make your supervisor look bad. Well, my job isn't to make my supervisor look bad, but my job is to do my job, and if I can do it better than you, I'm not going to try to make myself look like I suck at my job to make this guy look better.
Yeah, well, not that I agree with you.
Okay. So,
It's tough, yes.
so anything else?
That's good. That's a good lesson.
Okay. Done?
Done.
No questions at all?
That's the only question we
Yeah,
disagree with you, and we try.
we learned 7 principles today.
Yeah. We learned something new.
Good job.
Bam.
Yeah.
Bam.